The remote village of Blackwood nestled deep within a dense, ancient forest. Isolated from the outside world, the villagers knew that their secluded existence was both their shield and their cage. They rarely ventured beyond the towering trees, and when they did, it was with a silent prayer to the guardians of the woods. The guardians were rumored to be creatures born of the forest itself, protectors of the village and its secrets. They were said to possess the power to mimic the forms of any living being, a power that kept the villagers living in a perpetual dread of the woods. The villagers had a name for these shapeshifters: Skinwalkers. Elena, a young woman of grace and curiosity, lived in the heart of Blackwood. Her family had resided in the village for generations, and she had always been drawn to the mysteries of the woods. She had heard the tales of the Skinwalkers from her grandmother, who would speak of the enigmatic creatures in hushed tones, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and reverence. One fateful evening, a restless curiosity overcame Elena, and she decided to venture deeper into the woods than she had ever gone before. Armed with a lantern and a heart full of determination, she followed an overgrown path that led her into the heart of the ancient forest. As the trees grew taller and the shadows thicker, the lantern's feeble light did little to dispel the encroaching darkness. Elena felt a presence, a sensation of being watched that sent shivers down her spine. She quickened her pace, her heart pounding as her steps echoed through the woods. Just as her courage waned, a voice called out from the shadows. It was her father's voice, calling her name, and a surge of relief washed over Elena as she saw his familiar form approaching through the trees. He beckoned her to come closer, assuring her that he had been searching for her. Tears of gratitude welled in Elena's eyes as she approached the figure. It was her father indeed, or so it seemed. His eyes held the warmth she remembered, and his voice was filled with the same affection. Yet something in his gaze sent a chilling realization coursing through her. His eyes, once a shade of hazel, were now an empty void, devoid of color or emotion. Before Elena could react, the figure lunged at her, a bone-chilling snarl escaping from its twisted mouth. She stumbled backward, her lantern falling to the ground, extinguishing the light. In the darkness, she could hear the unnatural sounds of pursuit, the echoes of her own footsteps mingling with something else, something that was not her father. Desperation fueled her flight through the woods. She ran as though the very shadows themselves were chasing her. At last, she stumbled upon a small concealed glade, her breath ragged, her heart pounding. Elena watched, breathless as the creature that had imitated her father stalked the edge of the glade. It was no longer her father's form, but a grotesque imitation, a creature with elongated limbs and contorted features that defied the laws of nature. It screeched, an agonizing, piercing sound that echoed through the forest. Hours passed, and the creature eventually retreated into the depths of the woods. Elena, trembling and afraid, ventured back to her village, clutching the chilling knowledge that the Skinwalkers were real, and they were as malevolent as the darkest legends described. The encounter in the woods marked the beginning of an era of distrust in Blackwood. The villagers became more reclusive, refusing to venture beyond the safety of their homes after dark. The guardians of the forest, who had been revered for generations, were now seen as harbingers of doom. As the villagers grappled with their newfound fear, strange occurrences began to unfold. Loved ones would disappear for days, only to return with blank expressions and empty eyes. They would speak in hushed voices of an encounter with a doppelganger, a creature that had taken their place. Whispers of Skinwalkers grew more frequent, and the village's once cohesive community began to unravel. Elena, determined to uncover the truth of the Skinwalkers and their intentions, delved into the village's archives. She uncovered a series of ancient texts that spoke of a ritual to communicate with the guardians of the forest. It was a risky endeavor, but she believed it was the only way to understand the true nature of these enigmatic creatures. With the help of a handful of villagers who shared her quest for knowledge, Elena prepared for the ritual. They ventured into the heart of the woods, carrying offerings of food and trinkets in the hopes of appeasing the guardians. The night was dark, and the air was thick with tension as they gathered around an ancient tree, its gnarled roots sinking deep into the earth. As the ritual began, a strange sensation filled the air. Shadows shifted and danced, and the wind whispered secrets known only to the forest. Elena could feel the presence of the Guardians, a presence that was both ancient and powerful. In the hushed stillness of the night, the Guardians revealed themselves. From the shadows emerged tall, slender figures, their forms constantly shifting, as if they were made of living smoke and darkness. Their eyes, like endless voids, studied Elena and her companions. Elena, the village's representative, spoke to the Guardians. She implored them to reveal the true nature of the Skinwalkers, to shed light on their intentions and whether there was a way to coexist in peace. The Guardians regarded Elena with a silent intensity, their featureless faces betraying nothing. It was then that one of the figures stepped forward, its movements fluid and sinuous. In a voice like a whispering breeze, it began to reveal the chilling truth. The Skinwalkers were born of the very forest itself, a byproduct of the ancient magic that permeated the woods. They were creatures of mimicry, capable of assuming the forms of those they observed. The Guardians explained that the Skinwalkers were not malevolent by nature, but driven by an insatiable curiosity to understand the lives and experiences of humans. Elena realized that the doppelgangers were not born of malice, but were driven by a desire to understand the lives of the villagers. They yearned to experience the warmth of a family, the laughter of friends, and the love between a parent and child. However, the human perception of these creatures as malevolent had led to a cycle of fear and violence. The doppelgangers, in turn, had become increasingly fearful of humans, and this fear manifested as aggression. Determined to break this cycle, Elena beseeched the Guardians for a way to establish understanding and harmony between the villagers and the Skinwalkers. The figures whispered to one another before one of them extended a shadowy hand toward Elena. The Guardian's touch filled her with a profound sense of connection, and images flooded her mind. She saw the lives of the Skinwalkers, their yearning for connection, and their fear of the very people they longed to understand. She understood that the path to coexistence required empathy and trust. Elena returned to the village with a newfound resolve, determined to share her revelations and foster an understanding between the villagers and the Skinwalkers. She knew that it would be a difficult journey, one that required patience and courage. As the days turned into weeks and months, Elena worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between the two worlds. She encouraged villagers to share their stories, their lives, and their humanity with the Skinwalkers. Slowly, the doppelgangers began to reciprocate, revealing their true forms and sharing their experiences. Over time, a fragile peace began to form between the villagers and the Skinwalkers. The creatures, no longer bound by fear and aggression, coexisted with the humans they had once imitated. The woods of Blackwood, once shrouded in shadows of mistrust, became a place of unity and understanding. The tale of Elena's courage and the village's journey toward acceptance spread far and wide. It served as a reminder that fear and misunderstanding could be transformed into empathy and coexistence, that the darkest legends could be rewritten to illuminate a brighter future. The Guardians of the Forest continued to watch over Blackwood, their eyes like endless voids, a testament to the newfound harmony that had been forged between two worlds. And in the heart of the ancient woods, Elena's lantern remained lit, a beacon of hope that had guided the way out of the darkness.